Morning Gooders. Today I thought I'd address a comment that I had just recently and also take a look at a little experiment I've been conducting with video monetization. So today I just wanted to talk about a comment that I received on my 3D printer setup routine video. I think it was a couple of videos ago. And the comment is titled, "Everything wrong with this video." So let's have a look at the apparent problems that I'm creating with my routine and my setup. So the commenter says, let's start with the spool holder. A spool holder on the frame is a big no. It causes vibrations and is bad to add weight to the frame. Okay, let's just address that first part. If that was true and that was the case, then I don't know how Prusa sells these printers. There's got to be at least 2 to 3 kilograms of filament sitting on top of this printer. I don't think it's an issue. If you have a printer like mine, which has a particular flimsy frame, I might add, I can see how it could, in some instances, on a not too stable base, add some vibrations and some issues to your print. But if you've got a solid frame like this frame here, you can't just make a blanket statement saying that all frames or mounting filament on the top of every frame of every 3D printer is bad and causes vibrations. I don't believe it does. And if it did, I think this is a perfect example. Prusa would not be able to sell printers like this. I think that's a fallacy. The next part of that comment says that also graphite. It does absolutely nothing on the plastic holder. Just use a separate holder that has bearings and supports the spool at the bottom. My solution is simply that graphite does make a difference. I've tested it myself, I've tried it. I don't know if this commenter's ever tried it, but it does make a difference. It's a natural dry-based lubricant, and you can try it yourself. Like if you've got a plastic spool holder like I have on my printer, just rub some graphite on it, a generous amount off a black lead pencil, and just feel the drag on the spool. It is definitely less than without the graphite. So for me, it's a simple, cheap solution to ease the drag on the extruder, pulling the filament off the roll, and that's got to be helpful in reducing under extrusion. So I disagree. I think graphite does make a difference, and it's a much simpler solution than trying to come up with a holder that has bearings on it to reduce the drag, which I agree, that would certainly reduce the drag, but there's nothing wrong with putting graphite on to reduce the drag on a spool holder, in my opinion, and from my experiments and from my testing. The next part of the comment says, changing filament like that is just bad and can cause jams. So I think what he's talking about is when I've got the filament left in the extruder, I just snip it off and leave some in the extruder. Simply heat the extruder, hold the lever down and pull fastly with your hands. I've seen that like a dry pull on the extruder. I have tried that, but I think long term that's going to damage the equipment because you have to pull very hard and you have to put a lot of stress and strain on those on the carriage that's supporting the carriage, which is supporting the hot end and extruder on the X carriage, and I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. Now, if changing filament like the way I do is bad and can cause jams, I've been doing that for a long time, and since I've been doing it, I haven't had any jams. I had jams prior to that, but I haven't had any jams since I've been doing that. So for me, it works perfectly, and that's the way I'm going to do it, and that's the way I'm going to continue to do it. And I don't agree that holding the lever down and pulling fastly with your hands is beneficial to your 3D printer. That's just my opinion. Now, a comment here, cutting the filament on an angle. No reason for that. Your printer, if it is not modded with an all-metal hot end, then it comes with a PTFE tube. A properly cut PTFE tube will accept the filament as is. File it? No, just fix the PTFE tube. Well, I did that. I did fix the PTF tube. I bought this very expensive Capricorn PTF tubing and replaced the tubing that's in the hot end. It made no difference. It was still difficult to insert the filament. Now, since I've been filing off those sharp edges and the little notch that gets left after snipping, it just goes in simply, beautifully and easily. I have much less trouble getting the filament in by doing the method I do. So I disagree. Cutting the filament on an angle is a good idea, and filing off any sharp or protruding jagged edges off that filament does make a big difference. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to do it, but for me, I find it's worth the extra effort because I can just load that filament into the PTF tube very easily. So I'll be continuing to do this, and I disagree with that part of the comment. Now, the next comment says, mods. I've seen a couple mods there, but you still got the stock Y carriage plate and the stock bed. They are rubbish straight from the factory. If you don't have leveling or adhesion issues with those, then you are lucky. Well, I've had 2 printers with that bed and that finish, that surface that's on the print bed. What do you call it? Build tack, I think that you call it. And initially, when I first started printing with it, yes, I had all sorts of issues, but I took the time to work out how to make it work, and it's not hard. I can print PLA without hairspray, without glue, without anything. I just use isopropyl alcohol, clean the bed, and make sure that my gap is set correctly for leveling the bed. I've made quite a few videos on this. If you go back through my videos, you'll see that. But I've got it to a point now where I'll give it a wipe every 5 prints. I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of prints on this bed and this material. And all I have to do is just every 5 or so prints, give it a wipe down with isopropyl alcohol and make sure that my gap is set correctly. If I have too small a gap, my parts are hard to get off the print bed. I have too much adhesion. If the gap is too large, then I have not enough adhesion. It's really simple, and it all comes down to, on this type of bed using PLA, it all comes down to the gap between the nozzle and the print bed. On the first printer I had, I think I used feeler gauges to set my gap, and it was 0.08 millimeters I'd set that printer at. This printer, the one I have now, the Cocoon Create Touch, I set the gap at 1 millimeters, and that's 0.1 millimeters, and that works perfectly for that particular printer. So it's a case of getting to your printer and just testing it and seeing what works. Close the gap right down, open it up a bit, make sure it's perfectly clean with isopropyl alcohol, and just so if you scrub any film or oil off the material, off the face, off the print bed surface, and it works. I don't have any problems. So to say that all those beds with that Y carriage are rubbish straight from the factory, that's false. That's not true. So I completely disagree with that statement. Now, the next part of the comment is, my respects for your enclosure. It is an awesome idea, and the first time I've seen one like that, it looks perfect. Thank you. I agree with that part of your comment. Now, this is not a video to hate on this commenter. I appreciate the comments. Normally, if I find that's a negative comment, I'll just tend to ignore it. But in this instance, I thought there's a lot of things that aren't correct in this statement that this commenter is making here. So I just wanted to address those, my experience, and it works for me. And I think the takeaway from this is, get to know your printer, learn what works for your printer and what doesn't work. Develop your own little routines and set up systems and practices, and go from there. Don't just believe everything you read in comments and just take it as fact because someone's made that comment that's a fact, because that's not the case. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about today was video monetization. So over the last 3 videos, what I've been doing is doing a bit of a test. I've been enabling ads on those videos, and I've been making them non-skippable ads to see, primarily to see if YouTube will share those videos or give them preference if there is a non-skippable ad at the front of the video. Now, as you can see from the performance of those videos, which was if I go back here, the one from the 26th of June, let's have a look at the analytics on that one. So it's had a non-skippable ad at the start of it, 142 views, and it's earned me 16 cents. The other two videos are much the same. So I have found absolutely no difference in whether there's an ad on the front of the video for sharing or whether it's a non-skippable ad. And so from now on, rather than inflict my viewers with ads which don't benefit them or me at 16 cents for a week or two's viewing, it's just not worth doing. So from now on, these videos will not have ads on them until, if they start getting thousands of views, well then I'll reassess it then. But for now, it's just not worth it for you or for me. All right, with that said, I think I'll wrap it up for this one. Thanks again for watching. If you're looking for new here and you're looking for free STL files, head over to my free files here, which is printverygood.blogspot.com. Got it right that time. And if you'd, I've got about 50 or 60 free STL files there. Head over and have a look. There's a link in the description to that as well. And if you'd like to support me on Patreon, you can. There's a link to my Patreon. So thanks again for watching. Have a great day, everybody. I didn't want this to be a negative rant. I just wanted to highlight things I felt were incorrect in that comment. So thanks again. Have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow, hopefully. Bye for now.